In my last tutorial, I got a lot of questions about this huge cut I did halfway through my performance where the cards stayed on top of the deck. And so I'm going to go more in depth on how to do that. I tried to explain really quickly, but there were still a lot of questions about how to do it. So you have the card on top, and the thing about this is you need to know how to do a one-handed cut. You just need to know how to do it. So I think I have tutorials on how to do it, but I'll break it down really quick on how it works. Big hands is a plus, but after practice it is possible, just like most things. What it is, you hold the cards in this grip with your pinky and index finger on top, these fingers in the middle to keep the balance. These fingers are essentially keeping the balance. Your thumb is holding on to the top half of the packet once you do the cut, and then this index finger is prying it off, or once you get used to it, you won't even need to pry it off. You can just let them drop about halfway. So you're holding them like this, pry about half the cards off, and you let them drop into your palm. And they have smaller decks that are like thinner, like pinochle decks, I believe they are, or bridge cards. Yeah, bridge cards. That if you want to go out and buy those and practice it with these versions of cards, I'd recommend it because it's going to be a lot easier to do it. So prop it off, and then your index finger, your pinky's still here, keeping the balance. So if you go like this, your thumb is holding onto the top packet, and your pinky is creating a little bridge for both the top packet and the bottom packet. So you could essentially hold the cards vertical and it would still be the same way. So drop it into your palm, and then your index finger comes from underneath about right where the suit would be, or the pip. Comes underneath and pops it up to the top. And what's going to happen here is your thumb is going to let go of the top packet and get a very loose grip onto what was the bottom packet. And the top packet's just going to drop onto and collapse onto your index finger, which you can just move out of the way. So again, you're holding it like this. Your index finger props about half the pack off, drops it into your palm. Your pinky is keeping that bridge right there between the packets. Index finger comes underneath. Your thumb has to lift up to allow the cards to drop, and then your thumb can even snap the cards down to lock it into place. Perfect. So again, once you get used to it, the hardest part is going to be either getting it here because your hands aren't big enough, so trying to squash it by. So that's why I would say keep the cards like almost at your fingertips when you're first trying, because that's going to give you more space as opposed to if you try it like in the middle of your knuckle. So there's going to be people where the cards do this and just get stuck. And the best way to solve that is just to have the cards more near your fingertips. Alright, so we got this cut down, and now we want to actually learn that big false cut. So we'll use the Ace of Spades. And what it is, not only do you have to learn how to cut with this hand, you have to be able to do it flawlessly with this hand as well. Same thing, same exact method. So, and when you're working with less cards, it makes it a little easier too. But there's more room for error when you're using two packets. So we have our card. We'll leave it on top. I'll leave it face up. And what you want to do is riffle off half the deck into your other hand, keeping this card so you know where it is, and then you can pry off middle of it, And as you push off, instead of closing it, this pinky on my right hand is going to lift that packet up slightly, which is essentially creating a jogged card. And then your index finger comes over top, grabs onto this self-made break, and with these fingers you're creating a bed for the cards to drop into. And once you get enough, your index fingers and your middle fingers are going to flip the packet forward. There's our top card. So we want that one to go down first, second, and then bring that top packet back on the bottom. It essentially works the same way if you have a card on the bottom that you want to keep in the same place, but now you have to create 2 breaks. So now we have that self-made break, we have this self-made break, but what we want to do is get this packet on top, and then this one, we flip it over, that card goes over, and that card goes over. But you really wouldn't want to control that card because everyone would see it. So that was kind of pointless unless you plan on cheating in cards. So we have this card, peel it off, one-handed cut with each of them. This pinky pushes the packet over. This is just doing a normal one-handed cut. We have our break, our self-made break right here, where the ace is right here, the spectator's card. We break off at that point, let the cards drop onto the bed of our hands underneath. So we have this, and then flip it forward. This packet goes first because there's our selected card, second packet, and this packet. But once you're doing like all these false cuts, no one would, and then you just end it. And then you just end it with that big one. No one would suspect it. And if you didn't know, that was a double lift. So you can do, so I did this whole method where I showed, so here's the top card, false cuts. You can show not on top, more false cuts. You can show not on top, even more false cuts. And then finally, you would never really have to show that top card, you know. Well, I screwed up a little bit. But again, keep it face up, riffle off, one-handed cut, pinky pushes it over, make a self-made break, peel over, index finger slip it over, right packet first, second packet, and then you can just clean it all up. It's a really nice move because you can do it in mid-air. So when you're just out on the streets and you want to hit that move during an ambitious card routine or some kind of routine where the cards have to look like they're being mixed up. If you just end with that cut, they're none the wiser. And that was, it doesn't really have a name. It's just a giant false cut.